Welcome to the FBI Club. My name is Rachel and I am your host. Today, we are moving the Sanderson sisters down the bench and we're gonna multiply the sisters and bring 6 new ones in. They're a little crazier than the Sanderson sisters, let me tell you. I think I'd rather run into the Sanderson sisters than these bitches. Anyways, the Mitford girls, they didn't cast spells. They caused wars, broke hearts, and shattered empires in couture. This is not folklore. It's fascist, communist, duchesses, and death wishes? Yeah, all those things. They were the sisters. Salem gave us witches, but England brewed something far darker. From worshipping Hitler to vanishing to the countryside to become a lesbian, bro. They did not ride broomsticks, they rode the bloodlines. The Mitford sisters, they didn't need magic. They had politics, pedigree, and perfectly pressed gloves. So grab a snack, light a candle, and today you're gonna pour your own tea, because the Mitford sisters, they would poison it and write a book about it after you died. So their roots stretch back all the way to the Middle Ages. The Mitfords were an English aristocratic family led by David Freeman Mitford, who married Sidney Bowles in 1904. David was the second son of Lord Redesdale. Sidney was the wife of David, who was the daughter of the publisher and politician Thomas Gibson Bowles. And before they had all their daughters, who are the Mitford sisters, they were already making their mark upon history. Allegedly, Thomas, Sidney's dad, was the illegitimate son of Thomas Milner Gibson and his servant, Suzanne Bowles. In 1841. Then, David's father, Bertram, allegedly had 2 children with a geisha in Japan. I know not a lot about geishas. I don't think they're supposed to have kids. I don't know. I could be totally dumb on that fact. He may have also been the biological father of Winston Churchill's wife, Clementine Hosier. So yeah. The sisters pretty much had a family recipe on how to concoct mayhem. They just added a different few ingredients along the way, you know? So let's jump into them. Diana Mitford. This chick is wild, and we are starting with her for a reason. She's crazy. I don't know. Her and one other sister are fucking nut jobs. But this one, no. I'm good on this lady. So, Diana Mitford, she married Sir Oswald Mosley. If you don't know who Sir Oswald Mosley is, he was the leader of the British Union of Fascists, also known as the British Nazi Party. Their wedding in 1936 was held at Joseph Goebbels' house in Berlin. And Hitler was in attendance as the guest of honor. Just to let you know, Joseph Goebbels, he was a German Nazi politician who grew to be the Reich Minister of Propaganda from 1933 to 1945. So he was very high up. He was besties with Hitler. Everybody so far has been besties with Hitler that we're talking about. And the first sister married into that. That's where we're starting this with. During World War II, though, Churchill suspected Mosley and Diana to be supporting the Nazi Party. I wonder what gave them that impression. They ended up being interned into Holloway Prison because of Churchill. But you want to know something crazy? Churchill and the Mitfords were actually family through marriage. The Mitford's maternal aunt married into the Spencer Churchill clan. This made Winston Churchill a distant cousin of the Mitford sisters. So he threw his cousin in jail. She was obviously eventually released. After the war, she lived in Paris, moving among the elite intellectuals and social circles. despite her ties to fascism, she still remained in the spotlight. She never really renounced fascism, and even in her old age, she has been quoted saying things such as, "Hitler was charming. He didn't photograph well." Or my favorite, "He made a few mistakes, but who hasn't?" She was known to be sharp-tongued, brilliant, and disturbingly unapologetic about her past. Diana is also the grandmother of the fashionista Daphne Guinness. Now, she does say that she distanced herself with that side of her family. She doesn't want anything to be like any part of what Diana Mitford has said. She's like, no, that's not me. That's not who I am. But that's crazy. That's your grandma. Daphne Guinness has a crazy grandma. Hey, I'm back. I forgot something. Fun fact. It's a really fun fact. You're gonna like it. Guinness beer is Nazi beer. No, I'm totally kidding. But the Guinness Brewery dynasty is connected to the Mitford sisters. Daphne Guinness is the daughter of Jonathan Guinness, who was the son of Diana Mitford. Before she married Sir Oswald Mosley, she was married to Brian Guinness. And then they ended up having two sons named Jonathan and Desmond Guinness, which is how we get Miss Fashionista Daphne Guinness. There you go. So Guinness beer is tied to the Nazi party, but not really. I thought that was crazy. Rocco's Modern Life shirt. My best friend who's dead gave it to me. Fun fact. Okay, now we'll go back to the video. Moving on. Jessica Mitford. They also called her Decca. I don't know. Decca. Her nickname is Decca. D-E-C-C-A. Her communist beliefs didn't align with her family's. So she fled England to go fight in Spain against the fascists. After the war, she moved to America. Decca ended up publicly condemning her Nazi sympathizing sisters in print. When Diana was being released from Holloway prison, Decca wrote a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle in November of 1943 saying, "The release of Sir Oswald and Lady Mosley is a slap in the face of anti-fascists in every country and a direct betrayal of those who have died for the cause of anti-fascism." So I think it's fair to say she didn't care for her sisters and her family, which is fair. I don't know. I don't think I would either if that's what they were doing in their spare time, you know? Later on, she exposed the corrupt funeral industry in her book, The American Way of Death. It showed how they financially took advantage of grief-stricken families. She ended up writing 43 books, and with her most popular one being Huns and Rebels. She died in 1996 at 78 years old from lung cancer. I always find it so weird, like, when you, like, in time perception, I guess, gets messed up, because it's like, you I don't know why you always hear about these people in, like, World War II, and then they make it all the way to, like, 2000 and die in, like, 2000 or something, and you're like, what? That's crazy. They lived that long? But it's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I get messed up on times like that. Fun fact about her, she was cremated with no ceremony, and then they took her ashes out to sea and sprinkled them. For some reason, when I was writing about her, I, like, imagined her in, like, a red trench coat on, like, a typewriter that, like, spits ink everywhere, and she's just, like, smoking cigarettes. Is that weird? I don't know. That's how I imagined her, at least. She wasn't that exciting to write about, but that's how I imagined her. She just was like, I'm gonna go fuck these people up. I'm gonna go to America. I'm gonna write some books. And since she died of lung cancer, she was just chain smoking the whole time. Sounds like a fun life. Anyways, on to the next sister. This sister, our third sister up, Unity Valkyrie Mitford. She's a nut job. I'm just gonna say it right now. She's a freaking nut job. Her and Diana, weirdos. Anyways, let's go. She is Hitler's fangirl. If Hitler could ever have a fangirl, it was her. She was the ultimate fangirl. Unity was able to worm her way into Hitler's circle and record everything, every interaction, everything with him. She recorded all of it in her little diary. It said that her writings were not intellectual or worldly. They were just all about Hitler and herself. Like, she's drawing hearts around Hitler's name and, like, doodling, and I love Hitler, I love him so much, and all this weird shit. The Daily Mail has actually published her entries and dramatized them in a 4-part podcast, if you want to go watch that. Otherwise, I'll just give you a couple examples. She wrote in one of her entries, "The Führer was heavenly. He is an angel. He was in his best mood, so sweet and gay." Or, from December of 1934, "He talked a lot about Jews, which was lovely. Weird, but okay." I don't think she was, like, simply Hitler's #1 fan. I think she was his straight-up stalker and her absolute obsession. They speculate that Hitler saw her as a useful idiot. I'm just gonna say it. He used her as a booty call. You know? He was hitting and quitting. That's all he was doing. Useful idiot? Really? Also, weird side note, she was allegedly, like, expelled from 3 different schools, and then they made the joke, this is why girls aren't allowed in school. So she was making us look great. I personally don't think Hitler was too far off with his nickname. But Hitler also called her the perfect Nazi because of her obsession. To Hitler, parading around a titled English girl who was openly supporting National Socialism was propaganda gold. But when Britain declared war on Germany, she fucking lost her mind, literally. Unity was in Munich Park and shot herself in the head with a gun Hitler allegedly gave her. Did she die? No. I actually found a newspaper clipping saying, "Unity Mitford coming home. Conflicting news of injuries. Friend of Hitler, peer's daughter who was feted by Nazis." Miss Unity Mitford, the 25-year-old daughter of Lord Redesdale and friend of Hitler, is on her way back to England from Germany. She has traveled across the continent in a specially arranged ambulance train and may complete the journey by boat or by air. Miss Unity Mitford was in Germany when war broke out. A member of the family told the Echo reporter today, "Lord Redesdale is at Folkestone awaiting the arrival of his daughter. Lady Redesdale is traveling with her. We do not know what Unity is suffering from and have no knowledge concerning the report that it is a gunshot wound." She never became mentally well again, and since her family was pretty much ashamed of her, they sent her off to some Scottish isle where she ended up dying from meningitis in 1948. It's actually kind of sad. I feel bad for her, but I don't at all. Actually, I don't feel bad for her. Why would I? Well, I do. She's like, that's so hard. I like do, but I don't. She was definitely a character. This is so mean. Like, okay, I imagine her family, like, receiving her from the train, and then they bring her in the home for, like, a week or something, and they're, like, trying to take care of her, and she's just, like, all meh now, you know? Oh, Lord. And they're like, nope, Jeffrey, get her out of here. Jeffrey, take her away. We can't have this. Making us look bad. Nope. We can't have this thing drooling on our family jewels. Send it away, Jeffrey. And that's how that happened. That's how I imagined it going down. Yeah, that's what happened to Unity. Nancy Mitford. Nancy reminds me of the narrator from Lemony Snicket's. I'll explain why. Nancy is the narrator in the high back chair by the window, quietly writing about her family estate going up in flames. She was the firstborn and blessed with a very sharp tongue. If she didn't like you, you'd find your reputation destroyed in hardcover. She turned her sister's scandals into fiction. The Pursuit of Love in 1945 and Love in a Cold Climate in 1949, and never apologized for it. Nancy carved her place as a novelist, a journalist, and a chronicler of the British upper class. She ended up meeting a French officer named Gaston Paluski, who was said to have inspired one of her characters. They moved to France, where she spent most of her later life. Gaston and Nancy were together for about 30 years, but never married. They split up. Gaston ended up marrying another woman, and Nancy lived the rest of her life single. She died in 1973 after suffering from Hodgkin's disease, unfortunately. I feel like her motto in life had to be KISS, keep it simple, stupid, because she had a rewarding life going. She wrote what she knew, and she didn't go where she wasn't wanted. Simple. Right? Now we're moving on to Pamela Mitford. Pam is weird, I'm gonna say it, Pam is weird. I don't know how to put my finger on it, maybe you can, but she's a weird one. I'm also pretty sure she's a serial killer behind closed doors. She was described by her sister Decca as half mad and half vague. I don't know if I want to be described that way. I don't want to be described that way, half mad and half vague. In her early childhood, she contracted polio, leaving her with a lame leg, and she was known for being dyslexic. I don't know if that had to do with the polio, but she was known for being dyslexic. But neither one of those stopped her. Her sisters actually said she almost had a photographic memory, understood the compatibility of herbs and spices so much she should have wrote a cookbook. Her housekeeping was the best, and she was very pretty. She ended up marrying an atomic physicist named Derek Jackson. Now, do you remember when her sister Diana and Sir Oswald Mosley interned at Holloway Prison? Remember? Well, it said that while they were there, Pamela watched their kids. Pamela would send some weird letters to Diana telling her how she made her kids run through prickly bushes, like a prickly bushy field, in their shorts, so their legs were all torn up. That would not make me feel good in prison. What? One letter Pamela sent to her sister was to let her know her horse was slaughtered and her dog was euthanized. I'm pretty sure she was a serial killer. She's torturing your kids and killing your animals, bro, while you're in prison and you can't do anything about it. And then she's telling you about it. That's wild. When Diana and Sir Oswald Mosley were released, Derek Jackson, Pamela's husband, offered for them to stay at their Rignell house till they could make arrangements. Herbert Morrison, from Home Secretary, tried to stop this from happening because essentially a British war physicist would be shacking up with the German enemy. Kinda wild. Derek apparently, allegedly, cussed Mr. Herbert out, and they were still allowed to stay at the house. So clearly Derek had some ties being an atomic physicist. But Pam and Derek's relationship didn't last much longer. It's rumored that Derek was actually openly bisexual, and he just bounced from marriage to marriage. But what's interesting is that Pamela moved to Switzerland, where she met an Italian woman, Guidita Tomasi, which historians read as a same-sex marriage or same-sex relationship, even though Pam never came out as gay. After living several years with Guadita, I hope I'm saying that right, Guadita, she eventually moved back to the English countryside, where she lived the rest of her life with a black Labrador and continued to breed poultry. And then one last fun fact about Pamela. She was a self-taught poultry expert. She is credited with introducing the Appenzeller Spitzhaben chicken. She brought that son of a gun to Britain. She smuggled chicken eggs inside of a box of Swiss chocolate, and nobody even questioned her. Because why would they question a well-bred English woman as she walked through customs? That's how you smuggle something, Forrest. If you don't get my reference, go watch my Forrest Galante video. So yeah, the reason Britain has Appenzeller Spitzhauben chickens there is thanks to Pamela Mitford, because she smuggled them in Swiss chocolate box. Now we are on to our last sister, Deborah Mitford. They called her Debo. I like that nickname. I think it's cute. Debo. Born in 1920, and the baby to the clan of 7 because they had a brother, she chose to learn the art of survival. Debo ended up marrying Lord Andrew Cavendish in 1941, who was the future Duke of Devonshire. Or she took over Chatsworth House and transformed it into a gilded empire set up for tourism and tradition. The Chatsworth House was actually used for a girls' school that had to be evacuated during the war. So I thought that was really nice of them to do that. Debo had a section of the property changed to Chatsworth Farmyard, set up for people of all ages and backgrounds to come and learn about farming, food production, and traditional landscapes. There isn't a single bad word about her on the internet, only good. She was a sister that listened while all the other ones schemed. She was known for collecting Elvis albums, diamond tiaras, and she liked to write books about chickens as well. That's like literally it. She was just like a good egg. She was just one of the good ones. She just minded her own business, took care of people, took care of herself, her family, whatever. Perhaps you caught that I said there was 7 of them, and you're like, I thought there was 6. Well, this Gothic family has a forgotten son, which, by the way, has the coolest freaking name. I don't know. I thought it was cool. You'll probably be like, you're an idiot. But I thought it was a cool name. His name is Major Thomas David Freeman Mitford. I just thought Major Thomas. How fun. Major. I like it. I don't know. I can't help it. Oh well. He was the sole brother of the 6 sisters. He was born to carry the title, but was completely erased from the intensity of his sister's shadows. Growing up, he was the closest to his sisters, Diana and Nancy. It was said that while he was attending Eton College, he had a couple of schoolboy affairs with James Lee Milne, I probably butchered that, and James Alexander Wedderburn. Weird fact, by the way, James Wedderburn was later engaged to his sister. Back to Major. In the late 1920s, it's said that he was studying dick. I'm just kidding. He was studying law in Berlin. And during that time, he displayed his favor for the Nazi Party. He actually joined the British Army and was sent to Italy and North Africa, but his Nazi sympathies and reluctancy to fight Germans sent him to the jungles of Burma. There, he met a soldier's end, dying from his wounds in 1945 at the age of 36. He was buried at Takian War Cemetery in Myanmar. His sister Diana was quoted saying, "His loss was something from which I never recovered from." In the Mitford pantheon, he's the empty portrait on the wall. The heir that never lived long enough to haunt anyone but himself. It's really weird online because half the information on Major is like, he didn't like the Nazi party, he isn't anti-Semitic, he isn't blah blah blah, all this stuff, you know? But then the next article you read, him and Diane are so close, they're partying at the German Nazi parties, and he refuses to fight Nazis. So I'm gonna go with the other, I'm gonna say he was a fan of the Nazis. I don't know, make it make sense. He was Diana's +1 to a Fluter rally. Was Jojo Rabbit based off of him or something? I understand he wasn't like a German Nazi, but come on, how do you say he was not in support of them? I don't know. You let me know. You let me know, because I don't know, clearly. So you're probably like, how did they stay hidden in the shadows for so long? Well, one theory is that history books like neat and organized categories, right? They disrupt that. You have Jessica Decca Mitford fighting fascism. Unity tried to date it. Diana married into it. Meanwhile, Debo is now a duchess. We got a serial killer lesbian. It's just like all over the place, you know? I don't... How do you explain this family in the history books, really? Second theory would be British media protected them, of course. They were upper class with titles, wealth, and royal connection. This family was British aristocracy. I have the hardest time saying that word in a lot of words, apparently. That one in general. So while they were out causing absolute chaos, the press just often treated them as eccentric girls rather than dangerous political actors. Theory 3, the men around them stole the spotlight, which is actually kind of true. You have Hitler, you have Mosley, and Stalin. They were all constantly in the headlines. When Unity's name was brought up, she was labeled a young girl caught in the wrong crowd. So they were very well protected, you know? If a man, though, would have done what Unity did, there would be like a whole Netflix series on it. Oh wait, I forgot, it's almost like you. That just clicked in my head, actually, now that I just said that out loud. Whatever. Last theory, number 4. Their power was in their pens, not their politics. The sisters wrote fiction, memoirs, and exposés. So instead of being listed in history books, they were shelved in literature, memoir, and satire. Genres not taken seriously when it comes to historical records. I personally think the silence around them is for their protection and not by accident. So to me, the Mitford sisters were like the Kardashians of World War II. Rich, beautiful, and some of them don't give a fuck about anyone but themselves. Minus the Duchess. If you made it this far, go ahead and leave me your favorite sister down in the comments. Tell me something that you learned today. Did you even realize you just watched a whole video about World War II and you just learned a bunch of history that a lot of people probably don't even know and you can go school them on it now? Go tell your boyfriend, go tell some boy about this, because they love World War II. So let's see if the boys know about the Mitford sisters. Also, if you had to choose a side between the Sanderson sisters and the Mitford sisters to duke it out, who do you think would win? 3 Magies against 6 Fascies? We could actually take the Duchess out, put the discarded heir in there, Major Tom, remember? Put Major Tom in there, get the Duchess out, and we'll even take Decca out, since Decca didn't even fight against, or since Decca did fight against the fascists. So Decca and Debo out, Major Tom in, 3 Sanderson sisters, 4 Mitford sisters plus the brother, Major Tom. 3 Magies against 5 Fascies now. Who you placing your money on? I might put my money on the Mitfords. I don't know. They got like a lesbian serial killer, you know what I mean? I hope you enjoyed today's meeting. If you did, don't just creep. Go hit that subscribe button. I'm waiting for you every Friday, and I look forward to seeing you again in next week's video. Good night, my loves.